Alhamdulillah, Ashadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah. We give thanks to God for another beautiful Friday that He allows us to carry out one of His most important commandments, the Jummah prayer. He is the one God. There's no doubt about that, absolutely. He is the one God. There is no other God besides Him, the King, the most sacred, the peace, the most faithful, the supreme, the almighty, the most powerful, the most dignified. God be glorified, far above having partners. It is incumbent upon me that I do not say about God except the truth. And inshallah, all of us, it is incumbent upon all of us, inshallah, that we do not say about God except the truth. We are asked to proclaim in chapter 18, verse 29, that this is the truth from your Lord. Worship God alone, His book alone. Now, a lot of people don't like that. So if the truth is anti-hadith, anti-idol worshipping of any of God's messengers, then blame the truth and don't blame me. God tells us in chapter 39, verse 33, that as for those who are able to promote the truth and believe in the Quran, they are the righteous. Inshallah, we'll be among the righteous, inshallah. Like I always say, a lot of people don't like the truth. They try to bring you down to their level. It's called peer pressure in the Quran. But I say don't fall for that, because it's better to walk alone than with a crowd going in the wrong direction. Like always, I begin my sermon today with this incredible prayer, beautiful prayer from the glorious Quran, chapter 3, verse 8, that says, Our Lord, let not our hearts waver now that you've guided us. Shower us with your mercy. You're the grantor, inshallah. You know, aside from ego, which is the biggest problem we have as human beings, I think the second one is comparing ourselves with other people. And that's why I want to talk today about comparing ourselves with others. It's a very destructive thing. We say things like, oh, I don't have good friends to experience amazing times with, like those other people. It's always about those other people, right? I'm not rich, I'm not beautiful, I'm not talented, I'm not educated, I'm not skinny enough to be lovable like those other people, right? My children are successful and accomplished as they should be, like other children, right? I don't have a good husband like her, right? I don't have a good wife like him. We're always comparing ourselves, right? This is a very, very beautiful way to look at it. Look at your two hands, the fingers. They're not the same. They're not equal. And that's why God tells us in chapter 12:76 that it's the will of God. That was the will of God. because we exalt whomever we choose to higher ranks. That was the will of God. A former president of the United States said it well, Theodore Roosevelt. He said, comparison, when you start to compare yourself with others, he says comparison is the thief of joy. Absolutely. We'll see why in a minute. Why comparison is the thief of joy. It is this thief of joy because it steals our joy, because it makes us forget what we've accomplished as human beings and all of the incredible blessings from God. We forget that when we start to compare ourselves with the neighbors, with the children, and all of that. Imagine a husband that goes to work from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 p.m., working hard to take care of his family. And then he comes back home, at night at 7 p.m., and then the wife goes after him, like, she goes, what kind of life are we living? What kind of life do we have? You go to work from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 p.m. and you don't bring any money home. We don't have anything. Look at our lives, and compare it with the neighbor's life. Look at the next door neighbor. He only works 2 days a week. 2 days a week he works. And look at his cars, look at the house, look at the children. And then the husband said, my wife, I'm sorry you feel like that, but if you want me, I can do the same work he's doing. Because that guy, the next door neighbor, is a drug dealer. You want me to start selling drugs? And then the wife kind of backed off a little bit. Don't compare. You never know what's going on next door, right? And one more example. Imagine a child that works so hard in school to get good grades. He worked so hard to pass the exam, and he got 90%. 90% he scored in the exam. And he was excited, like, wow, I'm going to make my mom proud. And then he went home and showed the mom the test, the exam. I said, Mom, look, I got 90%. And then the mom said, so, big deal. You got 90%. The next door neighbor got 99%. And that just robbed the poor guy of all of the excitement and joy he had. All of the hard work he put in just vanished. Now you're beginning to understand why comparison is the thief of joy. The mom comparing that son with the next door neighbor robbed him of his joy, his excitement, of his accomplishment. We never want to compare, God willing. Right? Comparing ourselves with others. We see this also in the Quran in chapter 28, verse 79. This was Qarun, the slave, whatever they call him, right? It says one day he came out to his people in full splendor, dressed up like, with all the gold and everything. And then, because people saw him like that, it says those who prefer this worldly life said, oh, we wish we possess what Qarun has attained, right? Indeed, he's very fortunate, right? But then what happened in chapter 28, verse 81? It says, we then caused the earth to swallow him and his mansion. No army could have helped him against God. He was not destined to be a winner. So then we see in chapter 28, 82, the regret from those people who were envious of him, who wanted to be like him. Those who were envious of him the day before said, now we realize that God is the one who provides for whomever he chooses from among his servants and withholds, right? And they realized that if it were not for God's grace towards them, he could have caused the earth to swallow us too, to swallow them too, right? And they said, now we realize that the disbelievers never succeed. Absolutely. Now we realize that God is the one who provides from whomever he chooses from among his servants. That's why the fingers are like that. Small, tall, small, no, never the same. Depending on your needs, right? Comparing ourselves with others, we never want to do that, right? As I end the first part of this sermon, I want to share with you this cartoon that says it all, why we should not compare ourselves with others. This is the toothbrush complaining. He says, sometimes I feel I have the worst job in the world. I have to clean all these people's dirty mouths. Some of them, they have cavities, they have, all this gum disease, and, it's just disgusting, the job I have to do. And he went on, the toothbrush went on and on and on about the bad things about his job. And then this thing interjected, the toilet paper interjected, said, yeah, right. Meaning, you think you have the worst job? Why don't we trade places? You want to do my job? Then you'll know not to complain about your job. When you do the job, I do. So inshallah, we don't compare ourselves with others. Be satisfied with what God has given us, and we'll continue in the next part of the sermon, inshallah. Tubu Allah. Alhamdulillah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah. So, in trying, for us not to compare ourselves with others, I'm going to share with you some verses and some advices from the Quran from God, why we should not compare ourselves with others. Never do that. As we read in chapter 20, 131, it says, and do not covet what we bestowed upon other people, such as temporary ornaments of this life, whereby we put them to the test. Now this is very critical. What your Lord provides for you is far better and everlasting. What your Lord provides for you is far better and everlasting. No matter how small. It's a one bedroom, it's a studio, it's a beat up car. No, it's, whatever God provides for you is far better and everlasting. I'm going to share a very short clip with you that says it all about not comparing ourselves with others. It's from somebody I like so much. His name is Will Smith, and I think he said it very well in this short clip that I'm about to share with you.
We tend to base our self-esteem on what other people think. And that's not really self-esteem. Self-esteem is supposed to be how we feel about ourselves. And I was just saying how dangerous it is to allow other people to determine how you're going to feel about you. And it's kind of like looking into a broken mirror. You're going to look in a broken mirror and then change your face to try to look good in this defiled, busted, broken mirror. And it just, other people's opinions is a really shitty way to determine how we feel about ourselves.
And then in chapter 14, verse 34, and the subtitle tells us what's going on. It says, starting with how do we stop comparing ourselves with others. Let us start by being appreciative, right? It says start with appreciation of what you have, right? It says in chapter 14, verse 34, it says, and God gives you, and He gives you all kinds of things that you employ Him for, right? And if you count God's blessings, you can never encompass them, right? Indeed, the human being is transgressing unappreciative. So we got to start there by being appreciative of what we have, no matter how small, right? Because God has decreed, He says in chapter 14, verse 7, your Lord has decreed, the more you thank me, the more I give to you. So first of all, if you have that one bedroom, say thanks to God. I have a place over my head. And then, yeah, you can always ask God, God, please, I need 2 bedrooms. Please, I need a mansion. I need whatever, right? So part of supplication. But first, start whatever you have, no matter how small, start by giving thanks to God, right? It says, but if you turn unappreciative, then my retribution is severe, absolutely. So when God gives good things to other people and not you, it is out of wisdom and part of God's plan, right? Because we read in chapter 17:11, says the human being, we always pray for something that may hurt us, thinking they're good for us, right? And we're impatient. It says the human being is impatient. Again, we read this chapter 20, 131. It's a very powerful verse. I don't see shall there, but it's close to a commandment too. It says, and do not, we've gone over this before, but it's worth emphasizing, and do not covet what we bestowed upon any other people, because such are temporary ornaments of this life, whereby we put them to the test, and what your Lord provides for you is far better and everlasting. Do you know why? Right? That comparing ourselves with others, right, it's not the way to go, right? Because we look at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. What's here? What are your innermost intentions, right? So we do not want to do that. We want to look at what's inside, not the... I think there's a saying that says, do not judge the book by its outward appearance, right? Or something like that. So let us look at what's inside, not the way people are dressed, or they have tattoos, or they have nose ring, and let's look at the heart, inshallah. Yeah, and remember that whatever God provides for you, no matter how small, is better for you if you're really believers. So it all comes down to contentment. Contentment. That's the critical thing to have, to stop comparing ourselves with others. We must have contentment, with whatever we have. And that's why I love these following verses from the glorious Quran. In chapter 89, verse 27, it says, as for you, O content soul, as for you, O content soul, return to your Lord, pleased and pleasing. Welcome into my sermon. Inshallah, we'll be content with what we have, because that brings peace. Peace and peace of mind. Alaikum salat. We intend to do the Jummah prayer in the name of God. Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghayril maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamidah. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillah. Shadu an la ilaha illallah wa la sharika lah. Assalamu alaikum
Assalamu alaikum.
Congratulations. Peace.